Hey everyone, Wyatt here from Winnipeg Historical Fencing Club. In this video I'm going to go over some of the grips and cutting mechanics I teach in my longsword curriculum. So I'll start by holding the sword in my dominant hand and what's called a hammer grip. So my thumb's going to be on top of my fingers. I don't want to hold it in a death grip, I just want to hold it nice and firm but still relaxed. I'm going to hold it about a ½ inch or a finger's width below the cross guard to give myself room to transition into a handshake grip. So to change into a handshake grip, we're going to pivot off the ring finger, throwing that sword forward. I'm going to put my thumb more along the flat of the blade than on top of the fingers. I'm going to go onto the flat of the blade. My fingers themselves are going to kind of expand into that little gap I've made there. And then I'll transition into my handshake grip. So from hammer grip to handshake grip. And just doing that will help throw the blade forward. And when I add my left hand to this, to the pommel, I'm just going to basically give my right hand a little help. It's doing a lot of work there, changing that grip. So I'm going to put my left hand on the pommel. It's going to kind of be pulling a little bit and pushing just to help transition that sword up and down, changing the grip. So shifting the grip there into this handshake grip puts me in a nice line with my arm. It doesn't bend my wrist at all. If I do that in a handshake grip, hammer grip, I put my sword straight, it's gonna put this weird bend in my wrist, which is damaging over time. Transitioning into that handshake grip puts my sword nice and straight in a good position to get into a long point or a thrust. So I'm just gonna rotate off that ring finger, shifting from a hammer grip to a handshake grip. So now we do this from posta di donna. We're gonna do it without a pass first. So when I stand in posta di donna, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull down on the pommel, bringing that sword down in front of me into this kind of neutral position. And from here I kind of have a few options. If my opponent is counterattacking me or in long point, I have the ability to push their sword aside while I cut, covering myself with my sword. Doing this also covers my hands from being hit. It gets my cross guard going before my hands. And the other thing it does too, being in this neutral position, allows me, before I commit any forward motion of my body or my feet, I can change the angle of my attack to any angle and then come in from there with whatever line of attack I want to do, depending on how my opponent reacts or what initial cut I want to throw. And if I want to throw a feint or something like that, this is a good way to do it. Getting to this neutral position, and then I can change to whatever angle of attack I want to do. So, hold on my pommel, get into this neutral position with the sword just a little bit in front of me. And from there, I'm going to throw it straight out. When I throw it straight out, I'm going to shift my grip like we were doing before. I come down, throw it straight out, shifting my grip, and I should end up in a posta longa or a long point position. So I pull, push, and shift the grip. Pull, push, shift the grip. Pull down the pommel, push your right hand out, shifting that grip. We're cutting like this, making sure our sword goes first, not our hands, but our sword. Our cross guard's keeping us safe. Now, when we do this with a pass, all it's going to change is just doing the pass. All the mechanics are staying the same. I'm still pulling on my pommel, pulling the sword down in that neutral position, throwing it forward, shifting my grip. But it's just, when do we pass? You don't want to pass too soon. You don't want to pass too early. When I get in that neutral position, I've kind of started that momentum. My sword wants to go forward, so I have that little ½ second of pause there where I can make my decision if I want to feint or maybe pull back my attack, maybe not commit to a forward action. But once I kind of get to that neutral position, my sword's getting a little bit of forward, it's kind of pulling me forward a little bit, that's when I want to start my step. I don't want to step and then cut, or I don't want to cut and then step. I'm going to get into this neutral position right in front of me, feeling a little bit of that pull forward, And once I feel that pull, I'm going to step, shifting my grip again and everything like that. And ideally, when my foot lands is when I will land in long point. So now we're going to cut all the way through. We're going to cut through our long point into our boar's tooth. So to do this, everything's staying the same, pulling the pommel down, pushing forward, passing, landing the same time in long point. From there, I'm going to pull with my left hand, pull that pommel down right to my hip. So I'll pull the pommel down, push my right hand forward with a cut, and then pull that pommel again down to the hip. This should get me into boar's tooth. So I'll pull down, push forward, shifting that grip into long point, and then pulling that pommel down to my hip. Got to do this on the left side. All the mechanics remain the same. So on the left side post the Dana, I'm pulling down that pommel, getting into that neutral position again. All the same things apply. I push forward, getting into long point. I'm going to do that with a pass. Into long point. The big difference is doing it cutting into my full iron gate. So going into my full iron gate, what I have to do is same mechanics, same cutting. I'm into long point. I've stepped, landed into long point. I'm going to pull that pommel to my right hip now. This doesn't land me in full iron gate. So what I have to do is I have to kind of do a zigzag where I pull it towards my right hip, and then once my cut is done, I bring it to my left. So I cut through, pulling it to here. Once my cut is passed through, I bring it into my full iron gate. So I cut and turn after the cut. I have to make sure that I'm cutting fully through my target before I go into my full iron gate. I don't want to turn too soon. But I pull the pommel to my right side, and once my cut's passed through, I just turn the sword 90 degrees, bringing that pommel back towards my left hip, and ending in full iron gate. So those are a couple of grips that I teach in my longsword curriculum, as well as the cutting mechanics. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.